But we, the affirmative, are here today to show you all the ways it can work, and more importantly, all the ways it can be sustained in the long run. How? Through optimization of the collection process and efforts of member contributions, through high-yielding and profitable investments, and even by means of the government guarantee of the system's solvency.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to take a look into the fact that the President vetoed the bill at the risk of being opposed and mocked by the people, especially since election season is coming up. He did this to ensure that SSS can actually continue to give the benefits promised to its members throughout the years. Now let us take a look at veto in general and how it is applied in this case. Now, the veto power is precisely there as a principle of checks and balances. However, in this particular case, this was exercised by the President as a protection against harmful policy which affirmative side is proposing. Now we say that this is a harmful policy as it would ultimately lead to the harm of the people at the end of the day. The President cannot support the bill in its present because of its dire financial consequences.
It seems that the negative in this case is invoking the phrase checks and balances. They seem to insist that checks and balances means that somehow Congress should refrain from using its ability to override a veto. And on to my second point now. Perhaps the most important thing that the first speaker of the negative discussed is what he did not discuss. They offer nothing in the way of the solution for the problems that plague the status quo. This is contrarianism in the purest sense. The stance of the negative is an advocacy of washing hands and apathy. I shall now proceed to my constructive speech. As the second speaker for the affirmative, it is my task today to discuss how the problems raised by the first speaker shall be addressed by this proposal. These problems are, first, the benefits are no longer sufficient to purchase basic necessities. And second, these people who are in their old age are lacking in financial security, precisely the aim of the SSS as a fund. With respect to my first problem, the proposal of the affirmative seeks to ease the burden shouldered by the pensioners of the SSS, whereas the proposal of the negative insists that we merely do nothing, that we ignore the realities that we are confronted with. It bears noting at this point that while this proposal will not address all the problems faced by the pensioners, it will help. An additional 2,000 pesos for each pensioner can buy 11 kilograms of beef, 17 kilograms of fish, or 10 kilograms of leafy greens. It could even get a month's worth of maintenance medication or the school supplies of a youngest grandchild. And tell me now, the negative must tell me that these are not worthwhile things to purchase, especially in the light of the poverty that the Philippines faces today.
Mr. Speaker, a while ago you mentioned that the actuarial study of Senate President says that the funds will be depleted by 2029.
Yes.
So what happens when the funds are depleted up to 2029?
Respectfully, Mr. Adjudicator, this will not occur because, as will be discussed in more detail by the...
But that's an actuarial study by the Office of the President, right?
Yes, sir.
And you use that as evidence to support your contention.
Yes, sir. This is the assumption that that actuarial study made that will be rebutted by the third speaker of the affirmative. The assumption was...
So you're not using it as your evidence?
Yes, we are, sir. However, the negative in this case is insisting that it will be depleted almost immediately by virtue of the incredible amount of cost.
So you concede that point that based on that study, that the fund will be depleted in 2029?
No, sir. Because of the fact that if we follow the upward trend in the SSS itself and not merely assume the collection numbers found in 2015, the fund can continue.
But you're dealing with an actuarial study.
Yes, sir.
And unless you have a contrary actuarial study, and you use that actuarial study as your evidence, then it will bind you.
Yes, sir. In an independent study conducted by various NGOs that engage in the analysis of socialized funds, they assuming the 38%. The fund will only last, the 38% successful collection rate of the SSS, the fund will only last to the aforementioned, the year that I mentioned to you before. However, 38% is like close to a third of the amount of funds that the SSS is entitled to by law. If we simply amp that up to about 50%, following the estimations by the NGOs that I'm now citing, then the fund can exist for another couple of decades. And this is even beyond the current projection if we did not increase by 2,000 pesos the pensioners' benefits.
I present the sole and irrefutable argument that the passage of this law will not redound to the benefit of its stakeholders in the long run. We have to look at the bigger picture, ladies and gentlemen, because we have to consider the effect to the pensioners, the members, contributors, and the SS institution itself. Despite promoting the targeted retirees, which we commend, the opposing counsel seem to forget that the SS law is not merely for SSS law is not merely for pensioners, as its declaration of policy states, and it's one with the 1987 Constitution, that it ensures the well-being and economic security of all its members, not a mere handful. As we have already established before, a total of 56 billion pesos per year is required if we ever do pass this law. And multiplied with the current 2 million pensioners as against the annual income of only 30 to 40 billion pesos of the SSS, this would result to a deficit of 16 billion pesos yearly, which would actually increase. So never mind the ideal fact that they did not even contemplate the current collection rate, which is only 11%, and the operational expenses that have to also be deducted. The liquidity problem will continue to plague SSS due to the natural increase of number of pensioners every year and the consistent and viable collection rate of SSS.
Affirmative, I will submit 2 points to show why is it more practicable and feasible to override the President's veto of House Bill 5842. First, the SSS already has the necessary opportunities to generate revenues to afford the pension hike. And second, the government has promised to answer for the Social Security Fund should it be insolvent. As to my first point, the affirmative emphasizes that the funds for the SSS are already present. The government only needs to tap them so as to afford the proposed pension hike. Presently, Mr. Chair, the collection rate of contributions stands at only 38%. In the most recent SSS report, delinquent employers failed to remit 128.5 billion pesos. The SSS operating efficiency stands only at 18.2%. Clearly, Mr. Chair, there is room for improvement. Hence, the proposal of the affirmative is for the SSS to seize opportunities in order to generate revenues for the continued solvency of the fund. Therefore, we say that with this continued trend of optimization and institutional reform, the pension hike is feasible. Ladies and gentlemen, increasing collection efforts even by 10% would already increase the lifespan of the SSS by 12 years, and that already includes the additional 2,000 pension hike.